a heartfelt welcome. Our conversation today will be about how to regain vigor and joy, not by resorting to heroic efforts or strict limitations, but simply by listening to your body. Have you noticed how after 65, or perhaps even earlier, daytime drowsiness becomes such a persistent guest? It seems you slept through the night, but by lunchtime, your eyes start to close on their own, and the sofa beckons like a siren with its song. This isn't just laziness, as some might think. With age, our internal clocks, our circadian rhythm, can get a bit off kilter, and the quality of our nighttime sleep sometimes leaves much to be desired. And so, we succumb to this sweet temptation: daily daytime napping. But what if I told you that this seemingly harmless habit can turn into a real thief, stealing our energy, mental clarity, and even our good mood? It's as if we fall into a foggy labyrinth, where instead of rest, we only get temporary oblivion, followed by even greater exhaustion. Today we'll explore together exactly what 7 things happen to your body if you sleep during the day every day after the age of 65. And I promise that by understanding this, you'll be able to regain your vitality, improve your nighttime sleep, and feel a surge of energy without resorting to complicated methods. It's all much simpler than it seems. So, make yourselves comfortable, and let's shed some light on this important topic together. Disruption of nighttime sleep, a vicious cycle of fatigue. The first and perhaps most obvious thing that happens when daytime napping becomes a daily routine is the sabotage of your nighttime rest. Imagine your sleep as a special sleep bank from which you draw strength. Daytime sleep, especially if it's long and late, is like withdrawing some of the interest from your nighttime deposit. As a result, when it's time to go to bed in the evening, you might toss and turn, unable to get comfortable, or wake up in the middle of the night feeling unseasonably alert. Remember Arthur? He's 72. He was always an early bird, but in recent years, he started noticing an irresistible urge to nap after lunch. At first, it was short 20-minute breaks, but gradually they stretched to an hour and a half or 2 hours. It's age-related, he'd tell his wife. The body needs rest. But his nights turned into torture. He had trouble falling asleep, and at 3 or 4 in the morning, he'd wake up and couldn't get back to sleep, feeling drained and unrested by morning. He felt like he was caught in a trap, wanting to sleep during the day because he hadn't slept well at night, and unable to sleep at night because he'd napped during the day. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it all flows out. Physiologically, this is explained by the fact that long daytime naps reduce what's known as sleep pressure, the body's natural need for nighttime rest. Your internal clocks, which regulate sleep-wake cycles, get confused, not understanding when night actually falls. When Arthur, on his doctor's advice, reduced his daytime nap to a maximum of 30 minutes and moved it to an earlier time, no later than 2 p.m., his nighttime sleep gradually began to improve. He started waking up in the morning feeling refreshed again, not with a heavy head. So, if you want to sleep soundly at night, be very careful with your daytime sleep credit. It can turn out to be too costly. Cognitive fogginess and memory problems. The second consequence that might unpleasantly surprise you is a decline in cognitive functions, that very fogginess in your head when thoughts get jumbled, and concentrating becomes a real challenge. Does it feel like you've just woken up, but your head is still in a fog? This state is called sleep inertia, and it can be particularly pronounced after a long daytime nap. Meet Eleanor, she's 68, and she always prided herself on her clear memory and sharp mind. But when she started regularly napping for an hour or an hour and a half after lunch, she noticed she was becoming forgetful, had trouble finding the right words, and reading books, which she loved, turned into a struggle with drowsiness and distractibility. "I don't feel like myself," she complained to a friend. "I used to solve crosswords in half an hour, and now I can sit over one word for half a day." It seemed to her that her mind, once sharp as a razor, had become dull. This happened because long daytime naps, especially if they interrupt deep sleep stages, can disorient the brain. Instead of feeling refreshed, the brain kind of hangs between sleep and wakefulness. Imagine a computer that you abruptly unplugged during a complex operation. When you turn it back on, it will need time to recover and restore data. Roughly the same thing happens to our brain. When Eleanor replaced long daytime naps with short 15-20-minute reboots or simply a calm walk in the fresh air, she was surprised to find her mental clarity returning. Her memory improved, and her head felt lighter. Remember, your brain isn't a storage closet for old things, but a living, working instrument, and short, well-organized rest can fine-tune it, whereas excessive sleep can disrupt it. Increased risk of falls and accidents. The third point, which cannot be ignored, is the increased risk of falls and other accidents. When you wake up after a daytime nap, especially if it was deep, you might feel not just sleepy, but disoriented and unsteady. Your reaction time is slowed, and your coordination is impaired. Let's remember George, he's 75. He lived alone and greatly valued his independence. The habit of napping in his armchair after lunch became a regular thing for him. One day, waking up to a phone call, he jumped up suddenly, and before he could fully come to his senses, tripped over a rug and fell, badly bruising his hip. "I felt like I was drunk," he later told his son. "My legs wouldn't obey me, and my head was spinning." This incident scared him badly, making him think about safety. The fact is, after sleep, especially if it lasted more than 30-40 minutes, the body doesn't immediately switch into full combat readiness mode. Muscles are still relaxed, and the vestibular system isn't yet calibrated. It's like trying to drive a car immediately after being woken up in the middle of the night. Your reactions will be slow, and your assessment of the situation inaccurate. Older adults are particularly vulnerable at such times due to age-related changes in balance and muscle strength. After his fall, George became more cautious. If he felt like napping, he would set an alarm for 20 minutes, and after waking up, he would make sure to sit for a few minutes, collect himself, and do a few light stretching exercises before getting up. Safety is no small matter, especially when it comes to preserving your independence and health. Therefore, when you wake up during the day, don't rush. Give yourself time to return to reality. Potential metabolic disturbances and weight gain. The fourth hidden threat of daily daytime napping is potential metabolic disturbances, including an increased risk of weight gain and problems with blood sugar levels. What's the connection between sleep and weight, you might ask? But it exists, and it's quite direct. Brenda, 70, always watched her figure, but in the last year, she noticed her weight started to creep up, even though her diet seemed the same. Moreover, her morning blood sugar levels more often showed elevated readings. She didn't connect this with her new habit, napping for an hour or an hour and a half daily after a hearty lunch. She thought it was just age taking its toll. But research shows that long daytime naps, especially in the afternoon, can disrupt our internal clocks and affect the production of hormones responsible for appetite and metabolism, such as cortisol and insulin. Imagine your body is a well-coordinated orchestra, where each instrument plays its part at a strictly allotted time. Daytime sleep, especially if irregular or too long, introduces dissonance into this harmony. The body gets confused. When should it burn calories, and when should it store them? This can lead to increased cravings for sweets and starchy foods, a slower metabolism, and consequently, weight gain and poorer blood sugar control. When Brenda, on her endocrinologist's advice, reduced her daytime naps and started moving more after meals, for example, by going for a short walk, she was surprised to note that her cravings for snacks decreased and her weight stopped increasing. Caring for your metabolic health is like maintaining a delicate mechanism. It's important not to disrupt its rhythm. Social isolation and missed opportunities. The fifth aspect we often overlook is how daytime napping can gradually lead to social isolation. When a significant part of your day is eaten up by sleep, you have less time and energy for socializing, hobbies, and participating in life. David, 69, was the life of the party, loved meeting friends, and going to his interest club. But gradually, his daytime drowsiness started to take over. He began to decline invitations because that was precisely when he felt like sleeping. He missed calls from his grandchildren because he was napping. He thought he was just saving his strength, but in reality, he was drifting further and further away from an active life. "The world seemed to be passing me by," he later confessed. "I sat at home, slept, and then wondered why I felt so lonely." It's as if you were living in a house with closed shutters. The sun is shining, birds are singing, but you don't see or hear it. Social connections, communication, shared activities, these are not just pleasant pastimes. They are vital sources of positive emotions, mental stimulation, and a sense of belonging. When David realized that his daytime napping was becoming a barrier to a fulfilling life, he decided to fight back. He started planning his day so that important meetings and activities coincided with his usual active hours. And if drowsiness struck, he tried to replace the nap with a short walk or a call to a friend. and life began to sparkle with bright colors again. Don't let sleep steal the joy of connection and the fullness of life from you, for these are priceless treasures. Worsening mood and increased irritability. The sixth thing that can happen to you due to excessive daytime napping is a worsening mood, increased irritability, and even symptoms of depression. It would seem that sleep should be calming, but it's not so simple here. Margaret, 73, had always been an optimist, but lately her family noticed she was often out of sorts, easily irritated by trifles, and her usual smile became a rare guest. Margaret herself felt constant apathy and a lack of joy. She attributed this to age and minor ailments, not suspecting that her sleep schedule could be the culprit. She slept a lot during the day and, as a consequence, suffered from insomnia at night. And yet, it is quality nighttime sleep that plays a key role in regulating our emotions. A lack of deep nighttime sleep affects the work of neurotransmitters in the brain responsible for our mood, such as serotonin and dopamine. It's as if your internal mood regulator broke and got stuck on sadness or anxiety. When Margaret, on her therapist's advice, started working on improving her nighttime sleep hygiene, going to bed and waking up at the same time, avoiding caffeine in the evening and limiting daytime naps to a minimum, her emotional state noticeably improved. She started to enjoy the little things again, became calmer and more patient. Your mood is a mirror of your internal state, and good sleep is one of the main secrets to its radiance. Don't let an improper daily routine cloud your emotions. Decreased physical activity and vitality. And finally, the seventh important point. Regular and prolonged daytime napping can lead to an overall decrease in physical activity and, consequently, a loss of vitality. When you choose sleep over movement, you unwittingly fall into a vicious cycle. The less you move, the more you want to sleep. The more you sleep, the less energy and desire you have to move. Henry, 71, used to love morning walks in the park and a little exercise. But since he started allowing himself long afternoon naps, his activity sharply declined. Why go anywhere if you can lie down, he thought. As a result, he started feeling more lethargic. His muscles weakened and his joints began to ache more often. He felt as if his energy had left him. It's like a car that sits in the garage for a long time. It can rust and refuse to start. Our bodies are made for movement. Regular physical activity, even moderate, improves circulation, strengthens muscles and bones, boosts energy levels, and improves mood. When Henry, inspired by a friend who, at 75, walked 5 kilometers daily, decided to cut back on daytime sleep and resume his walks, he was amazed by the result. Within a couple of weeks, he felt a surge of energy, his joint pain lessened, and his desire to move returned. Your body is your faithful companion, and it will thank you for care and movement. Remember that even a short walk or light exercise can be much more beneficial for your vitality than an extra hour of daytime sleep. My dears, we have looked at 7 important points that show how daily daytime napping after the age of 65 can affect our well-being. Of course, a short, restorative nap is sometimes necessary, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it becomes the rule rather than the exception and drags on for too long, it can do more harm than good. Remember, you possess a priceless gift, wisdom and life experience. You have every right to good health, vitality, and joy at any age. Listen to your body, but don't let fleeting drowsiness control your life. Perhaps small changes in your daily routine, a little more movement, a little more attention to your nighttime sleep, and you will feel your strength, mental clarity, and good mood return. Don't be afraid to experiment and find what works specifically for you. Believe in yourself, in your strengths, because every new day is an opportunity to make your life a little bit better. And remember, you are not alone on this path.